But I want to move us on to the sponsorship programme, and thank both Alice and Audrey for coming to talk to us about the sponsorship programme and help us try and encourage people to join this amazing programme and share your experiences. So I've heard from you before, Alice, and that inspired me to join the programme. I'm hoping you can do the same for this team here, and they can take it back to their organisations and promote the programme. So yes, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay, if you're both ready.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Lovely to see you again. I feel like it's been a while, but it's probably because I've been doing this sort of talk to quite a number of
Lots of
regions.
people, I bet.
Yeah. So I'll just introduce myself, and what I plan to do is just give you a brief overview of what the programme is about. And some of you might have heard my story already. So what I'd sort of suggested was one of our other sponsees from the Northwest, Audrey, to come and chat about her experience, because we've always found that when people talk about what they've managed to do or achieve through the sponsorship program, hopefully, you know, it inspires people to either become a sponsee themselves or become a sponsor, and just the importance of it all, really. So I'm Alice Forgen. I'm the Associate Director of Finance at Warrington and Halton Hospital Trust. I actually joined the programme about 3 years ago now. And when I joined the programme, I was working for a mental health and community trust, Northwest Boroughs, and they were going through the potential acquisition and everything. And at the time, I didn't have a mentor or a coach. And basically, it came along at the right time for me, and kind of like, here I am type of thing, really. So I'm the chair of the Northwest Sponsee Network. When I first joined the programme, I was the third person in the Northwest to join. We now have about 70 sponsees in the Northwest area, in the Northwest region. So the programme's just for basically set up, like I said, a few years ago now, aimed for high potential finance staff who's part of the underrepresented groups in sort of like your director of finance levels. So basically, if you're female or BAME, or you have a disability, or you're part of the LGBTQ+ community. Before, at the start, it was only aimed at 8A and above, and now it's been opened up to all bands, all levels, because they recognise that the support isn't just from 8A and above. It's not at that point that they need it. We probably need it throughout all our career. It is kind of a 2-year program, but like I said, I've been on the program for longer than that, and I've kept the same sponsor. I guess it just depends on what you as a sponsee would require from your sponsor as to how that relationship goes. I'm aware of some sponsees who have joined the program, worked with their sponsor for 2 years, got to a certain position, and then they've actually found a different sponsor to get them to the next levels, or to get to the next stage of their goals and aims. So, but yeah, generally it's a 2-year program. I think it's more about, if you think like the different ways of people helping you, whether it's coaching, mentoring, sponsorship, I kind of see it at that level, in that your sponsorship program is almost like mentoring, but plus, you know, so they do a lot for you, a lot more than just kind of guiding you, you know, whether it's things like being able to influence, provide that influence, and champion you as a person, possibly giving you opportunities, like open doors. So one of the things that I was able to do was go on the HFMA roundtable discussion, which was actually on, you know, got printed out onto a magazine and everything. So I had my name in the magazine. I was like really chuffed with that. But that was because my sponsor at the time was the chair of that meeting. So he invited me along as, you know, to shadow. But then I ended up being part of the discussion. And just having access as well to lots of sponsees nationally, not just, you know, in your region, but we have monthly meetings, monthly sponsee network meetings in the Northwest, which I chair, and those meetings could be wide range, whether it's just having people having the chats to learn about how I can get this relationship better with my sponsor, or whether it's, oh, I've come across this issue, how can you guys help us? Or it could even be where we've had like director of finances come and talk about their experiences. And also, we've also had things like recruitment agencies come in to give us hints and tips about, interview skills and recruitment. Yeah, I think a lot of it, like the networking, is a big part of the sponsorship program, and things that we can gain. So that's just a general brief overview. I'm sure Audrey will tell you, like I said, what she's experienced from it all, and then, at the end you can ask us any questions that you want about the program. Is that okay? Audrey, over to you.
Thanks, Alice. Hi, everyone. So I'm Audrey Chindia. I'm a finance business partner at Alder Hey, and I look after the division of medicine. So I'm a real big advocate for the sponsorship program. So thank you for inviting us to come over and just have a chat with you about our experiences of the program. So I joined the program just over 2 years ago. So at the back end of 2020. And how I heard about the program was through our director of finance. So I was actually at Mid Cheshire at that point. So I was a business accountant at Mid Cheshire at that point, and I got an email from our director of finance saying, "Oh, I've been on a call. There's a lot of talk about the sponsorship program. Would you be interested? Would you like to have a look at it?" And my first thought was, "Oh, okay, I'll have a look. It's probably just one of those programs again. It's probably a course or, something that you go on for a couple of months." I didn't think much of it, but I thought, okay, I'll have a look. I mean, I did think it was really nice that the recommendation had come directly from our director of finance, so he was really supportive of the program. So I sat on it for a couple of weeks, and then as it happened, Jonathan Stevens, who is one of the founders of the program in the Northwest, was actually holding an event. I can't remember what it was called, but it was towards the back end of 2020, and it was an event around talking about the sponsorship program and what you could gain from it. So I went on the program. I thought, okay, I've had a look at this program. I'm not really sure whether I want to be part of it or not, but I'll go and attend. It was online. It was on Teams, and it was at that event that I just thought, wow, I really want to do this. Jonathan came over, and he was with one of the very, very first sponsees rather, of the program, and they both talked about their experience, their vision of what they envisioned this sponsorship program would do. And it was at that point that just something in me, just I was motivated, the drive, the enthusiasm of, actually, this sounds like a really, really good program. And I'd always been the type of person that wanted to develop. I wanted to go far in my career, but I'd almost reached a point where I'd just come back from mat leave, and I was a bit like, oh, I'm comfortable in my role. I'm not looking to move anytime soon. But that conference that we had just gave me that buzz about this sponsorship program, and I thought, right, I'll make an effort. Let me just dedicate some time and see how that goes. So straight after that meeting, I exchanged emails with Jonathan, and he just said, "Oh, if there's anyone that would like to join, that's after a sponsor, contact me and we'll have a chat." So I dropped him an email and I said, "Right, thank you. That was really inspirational. I'm really keen to join." And through the central team, the FFF team, I got sent a list of potential sponsors in my area. So I went through the list, and I'll be honest, I didn't know anyone on there. It was all DOFs, it was chief execs, and I thought, I'm clueless here. And randomly, I thought, I looked at one of the organizations, I think it was East Cheshire, that I thought, well, actually, I work at Mid Cheshire. East Cheshire would be a nice trust to go to if ever there was an opportunity. So I just randomly thought, oh, I'd pick the DOF at East Cheshire. But then something said to me, actually, to speak to my deputy DOF. And she was really supportive. And I said to her, I've been, and she knew obviously I'd been forwarded this opportunity. And I said to her, could you help me? Excuse me. Could you help me pick a sponsor? You know me. And obviously she was really supportive that I be involved. And I said, who do you think would be best paired? Who would suit me? Who would best support me? And I think that was the second best decision I ever made. Going on the program was one, but the second was just asking. And she was really nice. And she said to me, you know, she suggested a particular lady that I'd have probably never picked, but she knew her. She was part of the, you know, they were in the whole Northwest Deputy and DOFS network. So she knew her really well. She knew my personality and instantly knew that we'd almost get along. So after she'd paired me with this particular individual, I then sent an introductory email to say, I'm just on the sponsorship program. I'd really like it if you could be my sponsor. And she was really responsive, got back to me. She's the chief exec at one of at the local hospitals in Cheshire and Merseyside. She got back to me really quickly and said, oh yes, of course, I'd love to do that. So we soon arranged a meeting, and instantly we connected. And I know that doesn't always happen for everyone, but I was really fortunate, and instantly we connected, both female. Obviously she's not BAME, but we related. She understood my struggles, and it was a really good relationship. We agreed what we wanted out of it, what I wanted. I wanted the support, the development. Eventually I wanted a promotion, but I just wanted as much support as I could get to build my confidence. And it was really nice because we agreed we'd meet monthly initially, and then we'd see how it goes. And if we needed to meet it by monthly or however, we'd kind of almost let it flow and see what happens. And our relationship took off to a really good start. You know, I really valued the time I had with my sponsor. She was very she really drove me to think outside the box. Why didn't I? So one of the first questions she asked me is, where do you see yourself? What's your ultimate goal? And I said, oh, probably, I mean, everyone says, you know, you probably want to get to, you want to be DOF. And she said to me, well, why don't you want to be chief exec? Why do you just want to be DOF? And it was that kind of thinking, that nothing I said was ever good enough in the right way. You know, she was always probing and pushing me. Well, why don't you want to go further? Why don't you want to do this? And I thought, wow, this is uncomfortable, but in a really nice way. So why don't I want to be all those things? And there were some answers I had of, yes, I've got valid reasons of why I don't want to do this, why I don't want to do that. And she appreciated that. But it was just nice to have someone at her level who was interested in me, who dedicated that amount of time and effort. So our relationship went really, really well, to the point where I'd started thinking, oh yeah, actually I've been in this role for 2 years. I've been, you know, an 8A for going on to 6 years. Actually, I am ready for that move. And I strongly think it was as a result of being on the program, having had her there to support me, that made me think, actually, I'm ready, because I know I can. Well, at the time, I didn't know I could do it. That was also another thing, that imposter syndrome of, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I couldn't do it. But she gave me that confidence, that belief in myself. And then so when it came to it, um, whenever I saw some jobs, she'd say to me, let's have a chat about it. And I'd give her drop her a message, give her a call and say, I found this job, we can, can we talk about it? And then she'd talk me through it, until I found one that I thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to go for this. And again, what's invaluable about her support is I'd have never got that had I not been in the program. As a chief exec, she would look at my applications, she would read through it and say, she wouldn't, you know, you always feel a bit conscious about saying this about sponsorship program. You don't want people to think that you've got someone that does things for you. She didn't do it for me, but she guided me. She said, why don't you add this? Why don't you, really guiding me as opposed to doing it for me. And even with the interview prep, she was there to guide me in terms of my thoughts, my presentation. I'll be really honest, for this job that I ended up getting, the presentation question was quite challenging. And then I spoke to her and said, what do you think? And a part of me was hoping she'd say, right, this is what you're supposed to talk about. But she didn't. She was really helpful in, right, you've got to do it yourself. But here are some pointers. Think of this, and this, and that. And that was really, on reflection, I think that was really good, because I practiced quite a few times. I went away and really thought about what the question was. And then when I went back, she'd say to me, yes, that's exactly what I wanted you to do. That's what I wanted you to think about. So on reflection, it was never, sometimes you think, oh, actually, oh, you handed it on a silver plate. It was never anything like that. She helped me think outside the box and really explore things that are deep within me. So that was really useful. So fast forward a couple of months later, after we'd gone through this process, I managed to get myself a promotion. I also think, as my sponsor, being the job I got now, as I said, I'm at Alder Hey as my sponsor and as a chief exec within Cheshire and Merseyside. She never said it to me, but I actually think she did influence something. She might have spoken to the DOF at Alder Hey and just said, "Oh, I've got someone that I'm supporting who's really good, or who's got potential." And essentially that's what your sponsor's supposed to do. They're an advocate for you. So she never admits to it, or she never said she did, but I really think she did, which is which is another real benefit of having been on the program and having had that support from someone at that level. So our relationship, so I got the promotion, but we still kept our, the kind of the friendship, and it's developed into not just colleagues, it's a friendship. She'll text me outside of work at Christmas. I'll do the same, and it's a friendship that we've developed, that I've gained, that I wouldn't have had I not been on the program. So I find that's really important to me as part of this program. There's so much that you can get, a promotion at the end of it if you're lucky, but I think there's also the friendships, the network that you build. So that's my relationship with my sponsor. I know I've talked about some of the advantages and what I've achieved, but personally, it's given me that motivation and that drive. I always knew I wanted to um to progress, to excel, but it's sometimes you get to a stage in your career where you're just like, oh well, I'm comfortable. But the sponsorship program just reignited that flame in me. And obviously, like I've said, I'm really fortunate, because as a result I managed to get a promotion as well with the support that I got. It's really helped in building that network, the network I have with my sponsor, and also the network I have, as Alice has explained. We've got a Northwest sponsee network group, and I've built some really amazing friendships with people in that group. Even when I had this interview that I've just now got the promotion for, I spoke to Alice, I spoke to a few other people within the group, and I openly said, could you help me? And what I find so beneficial is you've got people at every level. So I had Alice, who's a level above me, so I could easily say, Alice, I've got this interview. Can you support me with it? And she did. So it's really, really, I feel like I've developed lifelong friendships, but also that network of, actually, when I get to a higher stage or a higher level in my career, I've got that group of peers who hopefully will all be, DOFs or deputy DOFs at some point. But we've got that network. And it's really built my confidence. I think it's safe to say 2 years from now, 2 years ago, I'd have never done this. I'd have never come up openly and talked about the program or talked about anything, without being extremely nervous. So I feel like that exposure has given me a lot of confidence, which is great. Again, just going back to the network and the sponsorship meetings, like Alice has alluded to, the fact that we get motivational. I mean, we have we have invited guests come over, and we have DOFs and all, different people at every level, and that's really inspirational. So hearing those stories of people that are just so similar to myself, and how they've overcome any barriers, how they've got to where they are, is always like really amazing. Even 2 years, having been on the program for 2 years, it's still, when you look at the agenda and you've got someone coming over, it's like really exciting of, oh yeah, it's really nice to listen to other people and hear how they've, how they've progressed, how they've got to where they have. And then obviously having the recruitment agents come as well as, as guest speakers, that's always like really helpful for interview tips. And especially in this journey of whether you're looking to gain confidence or whether you're looking for a promotion, it's just all the tools that you need all in one place. So that's what I think, has been really positive, and, what I've achieved from the program. I think, like anything, there's always some challenges. And the first one for me is the balance of trying to manage your day-to-day job, but then also get involved in the program, give it that amount of effort and dedication, can sometimes be about, can sometimes be really hard. But then I've been also really lucky because I've had supportive managers, and that's always, that in itself is perhaps sometimes the most important thing, just having that support from, the organization that you're at. I think as well, with having sponsors at that level, at chief exec, at DOF level, time is, is hard to find. And it's really hard because they're in meetings and they're doing all sorts of things. So sometimes, I mean, my sponsor never let me down, but it was always, I was conscious, and I felt bad sometimes of, oh, she's a really busy lady. Do I just want to drop her a message to, to help me with that? Do I want to kind of give her a call about that? So I always found that was a challenge for me. But she was always happy. She would always say, by all means, you're just as important as my day job. So if I'm helping you develop, if I'm helping you succeed, that's equally as important for me. So I'm really conscious of time. Uh, so yeah, I think for me, I think the only last challenge I found actually was just around sometimes people's perception of, well, actually, have you got that? It's people's perception and my own guilt sometimes of, actually, have I got this? Am I getting more support than other colleagues because I'm BAME, because I'm female? And then I've had, people jokingly pass comments of, oh well, the world's changing. If people are to go out for jobs, you'll probably get the job because you're BAME and you're female. So that's always a bit, it's a niggling thought at the back of your mind, that things, oh, is there any of that? But overall, the sponsorship, I mean, I could talk forever. The sponsorship program has just it's been amazing for me, and big advocate for it. I'll pause there.
Thanks, Audrey. I just wanted to sort of add to a bit of what Audrey said, which was, she said about, juggling the time, your day job and your time. Well, actually, this is about you and your future career. So is it not worth that 1 hour, if it is an hour a month, spending that 1 hour with your sponsor, planning what steps to take next in order to have that career that you want, in order to achieve those goals that you want? Is it not worth that 1 hour? I mean, the network meets for about an hour and a half, so that's another an hour and a half. So that's only, what, 2.5 hours per month. And if you think about the amount of time that we work, that we actually work, I'm sure it's more than 37.5 hours per week, guys. So 2.5 hours a month is nothing, when you spread it out throughout the whole year to focus on your future career. So yeah, just wanted to add that as well. Thanks. So if you've got any questions about the program, please throw it at us.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you to both of you. That was fantastic. I mean, goodness me, Audrey, you could go around and present up and down the country with that enthusiasm and energy, engage people, and I tell you what, we'd be inundated with sponsors and sponsees, I believe. So thank you so much for that. Really, quite energizing. Brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to go to Lorna first.
So yeah, definitely that was so passionate about it. It's definitely kind of made me think. The question I've got is, and it comes up with people I know who have been interested in the sponsorship program, is whether you had a specific question or a thing that you wanted to tackle. Because there's something around, I love what you were describing about you'd been doing a role for a number of years, you were comfortable, you weren't really thinking about doing something different. Did you go with that as a brief, or did you have I want to have a conversation that's answering this question about how I can get to here, and be a bit more specific about what you wanted out of it?
I think, to be honest, with me, it was after I'd been to the event where Jonathan Stevens was talking. I think what came back to me was I wanted to progress and I wanted to develop. So that's what I went with. That's what was kind of with my sponsor. That was my kind of mindset of, oh, I'm really comfortable now. But yeah, I do have a few things that I want to do, if that helps.
Yeah, that helps. Thanks.
Lorna, I was just going to add for mine. I was in the position of where, like I said, the organisation was going through acquisition, and I really just wanted to get out to somewhere else, but I couldn't seem to get my foot in the door of a non-acute, well, a acute trust, should I say, because I didn't have the acute experience. So every interview I went to, I was very good, but there was just that one person that had acute experience that I didn't have. So that was my thing about talking. But then often, as I've heard through other sponsees, is that you start with that question and it broadens, it makes you think, well, do you really want to go into an acute? Is that the real place to go to? Or actually, what do you need to do this? Or how do you answer the question so that you can show that you've got those skill sets and things? So it does open it up and it helps you think wider.
Thanks.
Alice. Maria?
Yeah, I don't know who can answer the question, but is there a reason why there's separate programs like mentoring, coaching, and sponsoring? Why it's not just only one?
Okay, so I would say that the sponsorship program kind of encompasses all of that. So the mentoring, the coaching side of things. Coaching can be done from any sort of sector and things, or departments. It kind of helps you open up your mind and finding the answers yourself. That's the way I see it. The mentoring, there is mentoring out there as well. But it's generally somebody who's probably in the same industry as yourself, and somebody that you probably look up to or want to become that sort of guide. But the sponsorship program was set up specifically because when they did the survey of, when you look at how many females, males, especially in your sort of chief finance officer, DOF sort of roles, or even deputies, the proportion is just not the same as the total finance. So you see a lot of the lower bands, there's very much high level of BAME and female, but when you went up to the top, there wasn't. In the Northwest, we had, at the time when I started the program, we had 2 out of all the DOFs, 2 that was BAME, and we still probably only got 2. So there's still a long way to go, really, isn't there? And when you look at the total number of BAME staff in finance, there's a lot more than that.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Maria? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. In a way. I just. Yeah. It is. I have done. I wasn't really in the mentoring program. I sort of finished now, but is. I just was wondering why it just couldn't sort of transfer from one to another, or I don't know.
I think my understanding as well as being mentoring, as a mentee, you do a lot of the work and the mentor listens, supports and shares their experience, but the sponsorship program is much more active as a sponsor.
Yeah.
So a bit like Audrey described around, her chief exec making time to review a CV, to maybe go and talk to some of the directors going, have you got any roles coming up? I've got somebody here who's looking for this type of work. Whereas when you're a mentor, you probably don't do that so much. So I think the sponsor role is much more, I shouldn't say aggressive, but I think it's a bit more active, isn't it, in terms of going out there, and it's kind of more of a 50-50 relationship of really helping this person achieve. So one is the definitely coaching approach to try and get them to open up and have a look and maybe get rid of this imposter syndrome and whatever else is in there, but then actively helping them find, solutions, opportunities, and then bringing things to the table.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'd say that at the end of my sessions with my sponsor, we both have actions to do. Whereas if it was mentoring, when I've been mentored in the past, it's always been, me having the actions, not they don't have any, and coaching is like, I have to think up of the actions. So that's the way I see it with those. But it doesn't mean that you can't have all three. So I know like one of our sponsees has a sponsor, a mentor and a coach, but for different things. You can use it for different things as well.
Thank you. So conscious of the time, Jackie, for the last question, and if there's any other questions, we can always collect them in and send them outside of this meeting. Thanks, Jackie.
It's hopefully just a quick question, really inspirational. Listen to both your stories, and it really brings it home about the sponsorship and about the advocate and being a real advocate and supporter. And you mentioned earlier that it's actually opened up to all bands and all levels. Would you therefore think about becoming a sponsor for somebody else, and at what stage would you do that?
So we've, like I said, it has been opened up to all levels. And as you can imagine, somebody who might be a band 4 having a chief finance officer as a sponsor might be a bit too intimidating for them, and also the gap might be too much for them as well, if that makes sense. So we do have sponsors that are like 8As, 8Bs, and they're sponsoring our band 6s, band 4s, so it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really matter what level you all are, the sponsor. It's what you can give to that person. It's what you can influence and support. So a lot of us who are sponsees, who's been on the program, have started to become sponsors. So not only are you benefiting from having a sponsor, so like a band 4 might have, let's say it's me sponsoring them, you'll have me being able to give what I can give, but also if there's something that I don't know and I'm not sure how to deal with, I'll contact my sponsor and ask for advice. So in a way, they have almost 2 sponsors in essence, sort of thing. So it doesn't, it won't matter about the level, but it's what you can give to that sponsee. And a lot of that's kind of written when they first apply. So One NHS Finance will receive the application, will see what you're trying to look at and trying to gain, and then they'll try and match a sponsor that's most suitable.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. So thank you very much, both of you, Alice and Audrey. Thank you so much for your time and giving us such a fantastic presentation. I'm sure everybody will go back buzzing and share that with their colleagues, and hopefully encourage people to join the programme either as a sponsor or a sponsor, which would be fantastic. So thank you so much.
Karen, can I just ask one question for you guys?
Yeah, of course you can.
Do you have a lead sponsee and a lead sponsor in the region? Because that's one thing that would probably help push, if that's one of the things that you guys want to do, is increase the numbers and share the benefits of it all. That's one thing that would really probably help drive that, because I think that's what's worked in the Northwest.
Yeah, over to Megan. Be able to answer that. Thanks.
I've gone out to the current sponsees a couple of times on this, because obviously we know that it works well in the other regions to have a lead, but I just don't get a response. But I know it is quite a small network in the region, so I think if we get a few more numbers, then maybe we'll be able to find someone that's keen to take on that role. So yeah, that's where we're at with it at the moment.
because if you do have someone, you know, obviously us in the Northwest are always happy to help. We want to help others get to the benefits that we've received and that, and we see it's like a really good program. So, you know, if they want to, whoever you get as a lead, I'm quite happy to work with them and support them in that sense as well. And obviously, you know, we've done loads of promotions through our FSD and local like value maker meetings and that as well. So that's the other way of us getting in there as such and spreading the word as such. Yeah. So if you need any help from that, just give us a shout.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
No
I think we need to get over a tipping point of having reasonable numbers, because like you say, the benefits of the network of the sponsees and all of that you can't get if there's only 3 or 4 of them, or you know, there's only a couple. So
they're also welcome.
Definitely. Thank you.
Our meetings are online. Yeah, they're very welcome to come along as well to ours. We don't mind. We've never said it's only the Northwest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
excellent. Thank you so much.
All
Thanks
right, no worries.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Thank you for having
Take
us.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.